This is the Cisco Room Kit Mini, and it is quite frankly one of the most versatile endpoints out in the market today. So Cisco has a whole lineup of what they're calling their kits. There's the Kit Mini, the Kit, and then the Plus. Today we're going to talk about the Kit Mini, which is good for a room that's about 10 feet long. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to give you guys an overview of this thing. I'll make a couple follow-up videos showing the camera off a little bit better, talking about the microphones and how far those pick up and everything. We'll do some testing with that. And I'm going to show you the back side of this, the ports and everything, how it works. So just to give you guys an overview of the Kit Mini, this is what you get out of the box. So you get the actual codec, camera, and speaker bar. And the nice part about this is it's all wrapped into one. So you don't have external microphones hanging out somewhere that you have to run wires for. You don't have a codec that sits underneath in a credenza or anything like that. It's all built into one system. Speaker bar is built in here at the top. And then we've got our 4K camera that we'll talk a little bit more about in a second, built into it as well. And then alongside of it, you get your Touch 10 control panel. This really hasn't changed in the last 5 or 6 years from Cisco. So if you're familiar with the touch panel from our previous generation endpoints, it's the same touch panel, same look and feel, a little bit of a UI update just with the latest versions of code. So the reason I say that this thing is the most versatile endpoint on the market is for a couple reasons. Number one, the way that it can register to a video collaboration server. This thing can either register to on-premise, Communication Manager, or VCS, or Expressway if you guys have those, or it can register to the WebEx cloud, and you can have this unit registered directly there, and it makes joining WebExes and getting onto things very, very easy. But the thing that makes it really the most versatile endpoint on the market is, let's say you don't want to register for WebEx. You have no on-premise communication manager. You have no on-premise VCS, but you want to use this thing, and you want to use it with Microsoft Teams or GoToMeeting or who knows, whatever collaboration solution you have. You can actually use this as a big web camera and microphone. It has a USB-C connection on the bottom of this, and you use that USB-C connection to plug into your laptop or your desktop, and your laptop or your desktop thinks that this thing is just a web camera and a microphone system that's plugged into your computer. So you can use it with whatever. You can use it with Google if you wanted to, if you're still using Hangouts. You know, it's really cool that you can do that. You get the full features of this thing, the speaker track that we'll talk about, and you get everything that this thing can do, but you're using it like a web camera. So let's start off by talking about the camera that we have integrated into this thing here. And this camera is actually a 4K camera on here, and it has a 120 degree field of view. So it's pretty much a pretty wide angle lens on this thing. And in the beginning, I kind of talked about that this is meant for a room that's no larger than about 10 feet back. And typically in a room like that, you're going to be sitting a lot closer to the unit. If we had a smaller field of view, you'd end up cutting off the people on the left side of the room and the right side of the room. But with the 120 degree field of view, you guys can be sitting very, very close to this thing on the left side or the right side, and we're going to be able to keep you in focus. We're going to be able to actually see you. Now, we know that, hey, you put these in your rooms, and not always are you going to have a full room with all 4 or 5 people sitting around a table. So what Cisco invented is something called a speaker track technology, where we can actually zoom in on the people that are talking, or if there's only a couple people in the room, we'll actually just zoom in on those 2 people. And that's what this has in it. It has a feature in it called Best Overview. So if I've got a room that typically fits 4 or 5 people, but today there's only 2 people in the room, and they're both sitting on the left side of the room, the Best Overview system is going to zoom in right where those people are and just keep them in the frame the entire time and not show the other side of the room where there's nobody there and there's no reason to show that to the other side. It's much better of a video experience just actually seeing the people that are in the room there. Now, this camera also has some artificial intelligence that we're doing with it. That's how we're able to do the best overview. But we're also using a chipset in here that's allowing us to do a people counter. So a lot of times you have these video conferencing rooms, you don't know how many people are actually going in there. You know there's a meeting scheduled, but how many people are actually attending that meeting? Now with the people counter, it'll actually tell you that, hey, there's 5 people in this room. You guys can get those statistics. You can see how many people actually attended that meeting inside that room. It's a really cool feature that Cisco has. Again, I haven't seen it with anybody else out there. So now the microphone system on here is actually pretty interesting. So like I said in the beginning, there's no external microphones you have to place on a table. It actually has at the top here, you guys can see that, it has a couple holes on there, and those are the microphone holes, and that's for what we're doing with it. It's called a beam-forming microphone. So it has auto gain and auto noise reduction, and depending on where you are in the room, the microphone will triangulate your position and raise the gain or lower the gain of the mic so that you're heard loud and clear on the opposite side. And the way that they built this too is it can even be used in an open space environment because the microphones are positioned so that it's only going to hear directly in front of it. So if you have some noise going around on the back side of this, it's not going to pick anything up over there. If you have noise going on the far left or far right side, again, it's not going to pick any of that up. It's going to pick up to 10 feet in front of it in kind of this donut shape, maintaining the 120-degree field of view. So if you're in view of the camera, you're going to be in view of the microphones as well. Again, really cool technology. Cisco's using a lot of artificial intelligence in here with the chipsets to make all that happen. A little more on the size of this thing. So when I got this in, I was actually impressed of how compact it is and how good of a job it does displaying video and the sound quality of this. So it's about 20 inches from here to here, a little bit under 20 inches, and it's just over 3 inches high on the back side here. And the speakers in it are underneath this gray cloth grill here at the top. And the speakers, it actually has 3 speakers in it, 2 woofers, and a full range speaker built into it as well. So the sound quality coming out of this thing is actually phenomenal. I've played music through it. I've played, just regular people talking, and it sounds great for such a small little speaker bar. The other thing that this has in it is Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. So when you get this thing out of the box, if you don't have Cat 5 run to a particular area, you could still use it. You plug it in and you'd be able to connect to your Wi-Fi system, and then the touch panel is powered over Cat 5 or Cat 6, but this does not have to be directly tied into this whatsoever. This could be on the other side of the room where you do have a network jack. And the Bluetooth that's built in, that's going to be for future use. I've heard you're going to be able to pair your computer with it if you want to play music through it or something like that. Those types of features, they will be coming down the road, but today the Bluetooth is not actually turned on. And the other cool thing about this, and there's another gentleman that works at Cisco that made a video on mounting this, but there's 2 ways of mounting it. You can either mount it on top of the TV like this or under the TV like this, and it'll actually rotate. It's got a gyro built in, and it'll rotate and flip the image because the ports on this thing are on the bottom. So if I have it above the TV, I want the ports facing down like this so I can connect everything in, and if I've got it under the TV, just depending on the TV height, again, I want the ports going on back of the TV and everything. I wouldn't want to try to put this under the TV like this and having to, turn the cables and everything. It's just a lot easier. So Cisco actually put a gyro in this thing to know which way it's oriented, and then that way you guys can have it, on top of the TV or under the TV. And if you're interested in the unboxing of this and how it actually hooks up to the back of the TV and the mounting and everything, I'll put a link to that video in the description of this one. So guys, I think that's kind of an overview of this whole thing here, of the hardware and everything, how this works. The one thing I'll mention before we get into the ports is the content sharing on this. So this does do 4K content sharing to the far side. You can either plug into this via an HDMI cable if you wanted to, or via the Teams app, you can actually wirelessly share directly to this thing as well. And it does have a feature called CEC control on it. So when you come into a room and it's plugged into your LG TV or Samsung TV, it should be able to automatically wake the TV for you and make sure that it's on the correct input. So with that, I'm going to flip this thing around. I'm going to show you the ports on the back and show you how this thing hooks up to your TV and how to use it. Alright guys, so I flipped this thing around so you can see it, and we're going to go over the ports and everything on here. We'll start at the left and work our way over to the right. At the bottom, you can actually see here, this is where the heat sink and everything is. This is where the hot air would kind of come out of and go through here. Again, everything is stable on this unit. No fans, no moving parts. Everything is completely stable. So if we start from the left here, we've got a little reset button. You can use a paper clip or a pin or something to get in there if you need to reset it for any reason. Next to that, we've got our on-off switch. After that, we've got where the power connector goes into. After that, we've got the little micro USB port. That's actually your serial port if you need to get into this via serial for any reason. There is no RJ45 console port on these things anymore. Thank God. You can just plug in with a USB cable and make your life a heck of a lot easier. After that is the USB-C connector. And this is where you would go into your laptop or your PC, your desktop, whatever, and that's how it maps this thing over as a USB camera, USB microphone, is through that USB-C port on the back here. If your computer does not have USB-C, not a big deal. You can get a converter to go from USB-C to whatever you've got on your device. After that is a regular USB port. Today, this is not used for anything. All the documentation I found just says basically future use. We'll see if Cisco ever decides to turn that on for any reason. I'm not sure why you would even need it, but it's there for future. And then we have a couple of HDMI ports here. And the first one is where you're actually going to go to your monitor. Now, this is a single screen system, so you would hook up your monitor, your one monitor directly into here. And then if you wanted to have a presentation cable hooked in as well, if you're not going to do wireless presentation sharing, you hook your USB presentation cable directly in there, and then that's where that goes. And then down here, we've got our RJ45 network ports. The first one is, again, if I'm not going to use wireless and I want to plug this in, that's how it will get plugged in. The next one after that is just for the touch panel. This is a non-routable port. You can't plug this into your network. I wouldn't advise it because this is how the touch panel will get an IP address. You might create a loop, or you might create a accidental DHCP server on your network by plugging this port into your network. So this is only for the touch panel. If you need to use it, if the touch panel is going into a wall somewhere and it's going to pair back to this thing via IP, you won't even use that. You'll just need this. And if you're using Wi-Fi, you won't even need this port. So really simple, guys, to hook up out of the box. If you want to get this thing up and running, the only connections you're going to have on here is power and your HDMI going to your monitor, because you can wirelessly share and everything with this device. Plug your touch panel in to some network port, and that's it. In the back of the TV, you're not going to have a whole mess of cables or anything and microphones and all that other junk coming out. It's basically just going to be the power, you're using Wi-Fi, and the monitor hookup via HDMI. And that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please remember to subscribe if you like my channel. If you guys have any comments, please post them below, and I'll try my best to get back to you. Thanks a lot.